Where do you get the spawn from?
You gotta catch a fish to get the spawn. So yesterday we were lucky enough, we caught a rainbow trout and we took the eggs out of the fish. We tied them into the spawn sacks, which as you can see, it's just 10 to 20 eggs tied up in a little sack. Trout love eggs, so it's a good bait. Tie them up, and then we put them on a number 8 red hook I like to use. And you try to hide your hook in the spawn sack, and you drop it down the hole. You can fish them. It really depends. Some days they're cruising higher in the water column. Some days they're real close to bottom. Naturally, you'd think to put eggs on the bottom because naturally that's where they're going to be. But a lot of times you catch fish higher off the bottom. I don't know if it's easier to see for them or what, but that's how it works.
Okay.
So then we're using an Automatic Fisherman here, which is a really nice rig for trout. As you can see, I have my name on mine. They're kind of a hot commodity, so I like to make sure no one takes mine. But anyways, it's the same thing as a tip up. Instead of you know, all the line with the normal tip up, the line is on a reel, so you get to fight the fish just like you're open water fishing and whatnot. And typically you can put a flag on here, so just like when a tip up goes up, this is set. When it goes up, you see the flag up. I don't have a flag on this one. I don't know why, but I don't. And then it's pretty simple to set up. You put the very tip of the rod onto this post here, and then you put the line in. And we're using an ice stopper here, is what they call it. You put a solution inside of this bobber, which doesn't freeze. So even on a day like today when it's 10 degrees out, your hole can freeze up and your line moves freely through the bobber. So if the fish comes and he pulls on this, the line goes through and he doesn't feel any tension. With trout, that's really important because they're really sensitive, and if they feel any tension, they'll drop your spawn. So this is the basic rig. I guess I can show you how it sets. Let's say we got a fish, he's munching on the spawn sack, he pulls the bobber tight here, and as soon as he pulls that tight, he pulls a little bit further and it sets the hook on him. And if he's on, you'll see your tip doing this. And you want to make sure when you're doing that, you have this line set so that if he wants to run, he can get drag. So that's how she works.
Okay, so that bobber there acts as what then?
So the bobber here, you can vary when you have it set. Set her back up here. When they're biting really light, you'd probably want to leave more slack so that you give them enough time to get it in their mouth before this goes off.
So when that hits the eye, it triggers it. Got it. Pound test do you use?
As far as that goes, I have 8-pound sensation. I like to run on all my rods here. And then I tie on a fluorocarbon leader. I have 6-pound on here, just like a 2-foot leader. And I like to keep my split shot off of my leader because my leader is my weakest point. It's very thin. And then, yeah, that's really it. You tie on a small hook and you try to hide your hook in the spawn, and you're golden.
Okay, and what kind of rod do you need to use?
That's the thing with the Automatic Fisherman. You can buy it with the rod, which that's what we have here. It's 33 inch. You like a longer rod for trouts, you can fight them. And if the fish is running, let's say they're running and they're peeling out a bunch of line, when you have jagged hole, you want to stick your tip down and let them run sideways. So with the longer rod, that's easier to do. So I like that. But really, and then I guess medium action's about right. With these autos, you want pretty good tension so that when it does set the hook, it's going to actually set the hook. If this was a really weak rod, it might not set the hook enough. So
okay, and then the last thing is, I mean, you said you need to catch a fish to get spawn. So if you don't have a fish, what do you do? Or you don't have spawn, what do you do?
I guess that's another thing. You don't need spawn to catch trout. You can catch them jigging with a jigging Rapala, just like you're walleye fishing. Waxworms can be really good at times. Just to jig with a waxworm, you can catch I caught one last year, a 15-pound rainbow trout with just a little waxworm. Also shiner minnows, we caught a rainbow today on a shiner minnow, just like you're fishing northerns except with a mono leader and a little hook.
Okay.
So you do that and you hope that it's a female and it has eggs in it. So that's how that works.
Got spawn. Can you freeze it or?
Yeah, you can freeze it. Another key with the spawn is when it turns white, like for whatever reason you put it down and you don't catch a fish for an hour, you come and you check your line, the eggs turn white at times, especially when you freeze them and then you use them. When they're fresh, like the ones we caught, the fish we caught yesterday, the eggs we tied up and used today, they'll stay, they look good, you know, they don't turn white. But once you freeze them, you still catch fish on them, you just got to try to change them when they turn white.